Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're asking you to think about something pretty fundamental. What does it really mean to be, pure or clean? Is it just about what we do on the outside or following certain rules or beliefs? Or is it something deeper?
Yeah, it's one of those concepts we sort of take for granted, right? But what if the way we usually think about purity is actually, well, getting in the way?
Exactly. And that's what we want to get into today. We're doing a deep dive into a really old, really profound text,
Hmm.
the Suddhaṭṭhakasutta. People often call it the Sutta of the Pure Eight.
It comes from early Buddhist scriptures,
Mhm.
and it presents this pretty radical take on purity. It really pushes back against some common ideas.
So our mission here is to unpack what this ancient text is telling us.
Hmm.
Look at how its wisdom kind of shakes up our usual assumptions about, say, how we gain knowledge or find liberation.
Right. And you might find the path to purity it talks about is, well, it's not what you typically expect. Maybe even the opposite. It's really a journey into letting go.
Okay, let's dive in. So the Sutta starts by looking at something very human, I think,
Mhm.
especially if you're on some kind of spiritual path. It kicks off with this idea, I see what is pure, supreme, without sickness.
Yeah, and then it follows it was purity for a person comes through what is seen.
Right. And knowing this is supreme, one understands purity through seeing, thereby arriving at knowledge. It feels very logical, almost. Like
Yeah.
if you just see the right thing or learn the right fact, boom, you're pure.
Absolutely. It sets up that familiar idea of purity through observation or through having the correct knowledge.
Right.
It suggests if you can just grasp it intellectually or perceive it visually, then you become pure yourself. It's a very common starting point, really. Truth by seeing, truth by knowing.
But then, straight away, the Sutta throws a wrench in the works and asks, okay, if purity comes from seeing something or if you get over suffering just through knowledge, well, then it says they are purified by something external, still having a basis for clinging. And it adds that this very view proclaims them as such. So it's saying the belief that you get pure from an outside thing or some special knowledge, that belief itself becomes a new thing to cling to.
That is such a critical turn. The text is implying that if your sense of purity relies on something seen or some specific knowledge, you're actually still carrying what it calls fuel for clinging. It's subtle, isn't it? Clinging to the idea of purity, even if it seems like the right idea, is still clinging. The problem isn't just what you cling to, it's the clinging itself.
Okay, so if knowing stuff or seeing pure things isn't the way, how does the Sutta then describe someone who's actually, liberated? What does that truly wise person look like according to this text?
Well, it says the truly wise person doesn't claim purity based on what they've seen or heard or even their good deeds or what they think or cognize. They're described as being untainted by merit and demerit, and also abandoning self. This is where it really starts to challenge our usual thinking.
Untainted by merit and demerit. That sounds tricky. Almost like saying good and bad don't matter. For a lot of people, doing good things, accumulating merit, that's central. How does this idea square with living a good, ethical life?
That's a really important question. And yeah, it can sound like nihilism, but that's usually a misunderstanding. Being untainted by merit and demerit isn't about becoming immoral. It's more about transcending the whole framework where you define yourself by your good or bad actions. It suggests that even striving to be good can be a subtle trap, a form of grasping, if it's all about reinforcing a sense of me who is doing the good deeds.
Ah, I see. So it's about the attachment to the identity of being good.
Exactly. And abandoning self isn't about, self-destruction. It's about seeing that the self we cling to isn't some fixed thing. It's more like a constantly changing process, a collection of experiences. When you stop clinging so tightly to that idea of a fixed self, that mental construct, you find a different kind of freedom.
Wow, okay. That really is a fundamental shift. And the Sutta uses this really vivid picture for what not to do. Talks about people who drop one view but just grab onto another one. It says, they do not cross the bond, those who follow agitation. They seize and release like a monkey abandoning a branch and grasping another.
Yeah, that monkey analogy is brilliant, isn't it? It shows the problem perfectly. Just swapping one fixed belief for another doesn't get you there. True freedom isn't about ditching one dogma just to grab onto the next one just as tightly. The agitation is that constant reaching, grasping, letting go, grasping again. Never really still. Like the monkey, you're still caught in that cycle. You haven't actually gotten free from the pattern of clinging.
Right. We've all seen that, maybe even done it ourselves, haven't we? Jumping from one answer to the next, always looking for the perfect branch to hold on to. So given that, what's the next layers the Sutta reveals? It mentions people who take on vows themselves and says they're going up and down, attached to perceptions. But then it contrasts this with the wise, having understood the Dharma with the Vedas, does not go up and down, being greatly wise.
Yeah.
What's the key difference there?
It seems to be pointing at the difference between just following external rules or practices versus having a deep internal understanding. The ones going up and down are unstable because their sense of purity depends on these outside things, these perceptions they're attached to. Maybe they're constantly trying to prove something or fit a certain image. But the greatly wise person, they've seen into the nature of things so deeply. They're not swayed by those ups and downs. Their purity isn't based on performance. It's an inner state, a state of understanding.
Okay, which leads us towards this state of someone who's really let go completely. The Sutta describes them as disarmed from all doctrines, no longer caught by whatever is seen or heard or cognized. And it asks, how could you even measure or describe someone like that, someone moving openly and seeing truly? It sounds like they're just beyond our usual categories.
Exactly right. That's the sense you get. Complete liberation from labels. To be disarmed from all doctrines. I mean, they don't even have a conceptual team jersey anymore. Nothing to defend or identify with. They've let go of being attached to all the input, what they see, hear, think. No, all of it. So yeah, they are beyond definition because they aren't holding on to any definition of themselves or the world. Trying to label them would be like you said, trying to catch smoke.
And it keeps going with that idea. It says they do not construct, do not cling to any preconceived notions. They do not even say absolute purity. Instead, they release the knot of grasping and, crucially, make no desires anywhere in the world.
That's such a radical step. They don't just avoid clinging to wrong views. They don't even cling to the idea of absolute purity. Because claiming that would just be another grasp, another position, another knot, releasing the knot of grasping. That seems to be the core activity. It's this ongoing letting go. And it leads to this state of being without wanting anything from the world. No agendas.
Can you maybe paint a bit more of a picture? What does that knot of grasping feel like in just our everyday lives? Is it that constant sort of mental tightness, that feeling of, I need this thing or I have to be seen this way?
Yes, exactly like that.
Yeah.
It's the tension that comes from attachment. Attachment to an idea, an object, how things should turn out, who we think we are. It's often unconscious, like a clenched fist in the mind we don't even realize we're making. We're constantly striving, pushing, pulling. Releasing the knot is like finally opening that fist, realizing you can just let go of the tension.
So the ultimate state, the truly wise person, they are beyond boundaries. For them, there's nothing grasped by knowing or by seeing. They're not attached to desire nor to non-desire. Wow. And they have nothing supreme grasped here.
Yes, that's the culmination. That's where this path outlined in the Suddhaṭṭhakasutta leads. Beyond boundaries, beyond all the lines we draw, the distinctions, the labels. There's no hierarchy left, no better view or higher experience to hold on to. They're not even attached to not desiring, because that itself can become a subtle thing to cling to, right? I must be desireless. It's a state of profound, just, complete non-clinging. That's where the real liberation lies, according to this text.
What an incredible journey this ancient text takes us on. It really turns things inside out.
Yeah.
The central message, and it is challenging, from the Suddhaṭṭhakasutta seems really clear. True purity isn't something you find by getting something or doing something specific, not by holding on to certain views, not even clinging to the idea of purity itself.
Exactly. It's found in this deep ongoing practice of letting go of all the grasping, including our fixed ideas about what we've seen or heard or figured out. It talks about being beyond boundaries, untainted by merit and demerit. It's not about becoming something new or gaining some special status. It's about releasing absolutely everything that ties you down.
The Sutta uses that phrase, releasing the knots of grasping. So as you sit with this deep dive, maybe consider what knots of grasping might you be holding on to, perhaps without even realizing it in your own life. You know, that background tension, that hidden must-have or must-be, that expectation you carry around.
And just ponder for a moment what might happen if you let go. Even letting go of your most cherished ideas, your strongest opinions, your biggest goals. How might that open up maybe new ways of understanding, new kinds of freedom, insights you hadn't even imagined were possible? It's definitely a challenging thought to end on, but it points towards a potentially huge shift in how you experience everything.